In this video, I'll demonstrate how to create AP groups using the Unleashed mobile app. Access point groups can be used to define configuration options and apply them to groups of APs at once without having to modify each AP setting individually. This allows the administrator greater network control. So from the main menu, you'll notice that we have 3 APs, but we don't have any AP groups yet. So what we're going to do is create an AP group. So I would go to the upper right, and I would tag on the 3 bars, and I would press on AP group. I'm going to give the AP group name, and I'm going to set it at Foundry. And then I'll hit Next. Next, I'm going to select the APs to put into the group, so it's going to come up with a list, and I'm going to select the R500 Foundry and then tap on the arrow, and once again, just to make sure that that is what I selected, you can tap on that arrow. Next is to select the wireless LANs that I want to put into that AP group. By default, they're all checked, so I'm going to uncheck 2 of them and just include Foundry. And if I want to double check that, I can just retap that arrow, and you'll see that Foundry wireless LAN is in there. Next is my radio settings. I have 2.4 gigahertz and I have 5 gigahertz. So first I'm going to set up the 2.4 gigahertz. By default, you'll notice that all the radio channels are enabled, but if I wanted to deselect some of those, I could just tap on them. I'll just leave those enabled. Under channelization, I can set the speed to auto, or I can set it for 20 megahertz or 40 megahertz. So for example, if I had some higher bandwidth devices out there, or I was streaming some video, I might want to set it for 40 megahertz. Channel, if I wanted to specify a specific channel, I could select that, but we'll leave it as auto. Transmit power by default is on auto, but I could set it at a lower level depending upon the situation that I'm in. Maybe I had multiple APs out there and I didn't want them transmitting over each other, so we'll leave that as auto. Next is my 11N only mode. Now it's set for auto, so this means that any type of 802.11 client that connects A, B, or N, but I could set that to N only, and if it's N only, it will force all 802.11n and 11AC APs to accept only 802.11n AC compliant devices on the 2.4 gigahertz channel. So I'll just leave that at auto. Call admission control. This is the airtime usage limit, so I could specify a percentage. I'll just leave that off, so that'll be unlimited service. I could turn that on or off, and I'll leave that disabled. Then we would go on to the 5 gigahertz radio, and you'll see that the menu is very similar, so all the channels are selected by default, but we could select those. Under channelization, we have the options of 20, 40, or 80 megahertz. So for example, if I had a video streaming device, I might want to pick 40 or 80. Indoor channel, so here we have an indoor channel we can specify, and we can also specify an outdoor channel. We might want a different indoor channel from an outdoor channel. Transmit power, very similar to what we had before. We can set the level at auto, or we can minimize it. The 11N and AC mode, this is very similar to what we had on the other, but in this case, if N or AC only is selected, all older 802.11b and G devices will be denied access to the radio. Now, in normal cases, you would want to keep this on auto, but there might be some cases where you have some very high-end devices out there, and you just want to exclude the others. Call admission control is off by default, and that's the percentage of airtime that I would allow. And my wireless LAN service, very similar to before. So once we've set up my radio settings, I would then press on Create. And it says that the AP group was successfully created. So I'll press on OK. And here we can see that we have our group. Now, if I wanted to go and edit that, for example, I could just press on the pencil up here. And if I wanted to change a setting, I could go ahead and do that. But I'm just going to cancel out on that for now. If I wanted to refresh it, I could hit the little arrows up at the upper right here. If I wanted to delete this, I could click on the trash can. I'm not going to delete it yet. And now let's go back to the main menu. Now from the main menu, when I tap on my access points, you'll see that we have an AP view and a group view. So if I go to my group view, you'll see that we have one AP in there, and if I go to the AP view, you'll see all 3 APs. If I go back to that group view and I wanted to edit that and get more detail on that, I can tap on that access point and it'll give me more information on that particular access point that's in there. So we'll go back, and finally, if I want to delete that group, I could hit the trash can, and it says, are you sure you want to delete the AP from the group Foundry? Yep, I do, and I'm going to hit OK, and that will say that the AP group was deleted successfully. So now we have our 3 APs, but we don't have any groups left. So as you can see, it's easy to create AP groups and define configuration options and apply them to groups of APs at once without having to modify each AP setting individually.